Welcome to my teaching learning session. I'm SINGH and taking care of psychology courses of BA, IGNO. So today we continue with intelligence, one of the most elaborate courses that we have, elaborate chapters that we have, and something that let us know that what is exactly intelligence and is intelligent actually related to the intelligent behaviors, the good performance that you give and you perform. So let's start with the basic and understand what is intelligence. Intelligence is something which is involving an excellence in every ability that you do. It involves number of abilities also, so it's just not about reading well, writing well. It will also be equivalent to performing things well. So it's the ability to understand information, taking from those information and making sense out of your academic world, also making sense out of the world outside that you have. Let's go to the core operational definition which are given by psychologists. Wechsler has been one of the most renowned psychologists in intelligence, and he's given the definition as intelligence is a global aggregate capacity of an individual to act purposely, think rationally, and to deal with the environment effectively. So let's understand what is the idea behind this definition. The idea is that intelligence is a global capacity. That means whatever that you perform, whatever activity, right from reading, writing, learning, and probably problem solving, decision making, has to have intelligent abilities, which is ability to excel. Also, it also deals with the way that you act purposely in an environment. So you need to have a goal in an environment that you are. Also, the way that you deal with the environment effectively. So if you're able to survive, cope, and effectively deal with your environment, you are intelligent, according to David Wechsler. Then came another definition that I want to provide you. This is by Alfred Binet. He's another renowned psychologist of intelligence and also one of the psychologists who gave the intelligence testing, the idea of intelligence testing to us. So for him, intelligence was a very simple concept: the ability to understand, the ability to judge, and reason well. So the ability to understand well, reason well, and judge well. So this is like a composite of so many things that you do in an everyday life, which is the fact that you perform well, the fact that you understand things well, you are able to decide well, and you are able to judge your environment effectively. So that's intelligence. Also needing to know an average intelligence of Indian capacity is 110. So our mean is 110, or most of the individuals in the society would be 110. And anything lower than 70 as an IQ, which is an intelligence quotient, which is given as a number after we scale it, after we assess it, that's 70. If anything is lesser than 70, or probably 75 and 80, those are slow learners or dullers of society. And 70 below are individuals who are suffering from intellectual disability. And anything which is above average, which is above 110, which is the mean and the average of our society, that's going to be something which is going to be intellectually superior in our society. So something which is 130, 140 are not going to be 30% of the society, probably be 9% or 7% of the society, but are going to be intellectually superior. Now, coming to know that intelligence is a global capacity, it helps you to judge well, reason well. Is it impacted? Are there any predisposing factors? So, are any factors which are causing intelligence? Is there any changes that will happen in your intelligence be responsible by what? Two factors that are always going to be there as a debate, which is going to be nature and nurture. So, speaking of nature, we need to know that nature is the heredity, the inherent potential that you carry from your parents to offspring. So, this is something usually seen in more of the physical ability. Psychologists have stated that inheritance and nature is something that is more evident in physical appearance and ability. Like, your strength, your body build, the kind of body structure people have, like muscular or probably a little plump or thinner or lean in condition of the body. That is something that we are inheriting, not intelligence per se. And a lot of psychologists say that intelligence is also a psychological ability which is inherited by your parent. There's another factor that we always spoke of the debate, which is nature and nurture. Nurture, on the other hand, suggests that it refers to all the environmental factors that nourishes that attribute of yours. So, intelligence can be facilitated by your parents, obviously, if they provide you something which is a good environment, an environment where you get the practice of doing things again and again, a lot of rehearsals, a lot of repetition, a lot of understanding and meaning. and your social condition, social support, also socioeconomic statuses and conditions also play a very important role in facilitating or probably delimiting your intelligence. But we all know that in parts of India, poverty is a huge concern, and because of that, there are a lot of children, a lot of parents who do not understand that education is important to remove this poverty. A lot of them say that the fact that we have more number of members in the family, we still probably be having, is because they add to the economy of the family, which is they'll be doing some hardcore physical work and probably they're begging on the street, so they don't understand that socio-economic. We need to understand that a lot of conditions like the socio-economic conditions are also responsible for something which is intelligence. And there could be other factors like social support, cultural factors, like maybe some cultures do not allow a specific gender to study, or they feel that only one gender is responsible for breadwinning of the family, so we don't need the other gender to be educated. So this is the nature. Remember, nature is this is the nurture. Nurture is something which is going to be around you, all the environmental, situational, social factors that you have. Then on the other hand, the nature is going to be something which is going to be inherited, which is from your genetics, like, which is inherited from your parents to offspring. This has been a huge debate all the time, and we take some researches in this concern of nature. So we believe that when we talk about nature, remember the people, the psychologists here who believed that intelligence is an outproduct and is manifested by hereditary factors were called nativists. Nativists, why? Because they supported this view and they felt that the human behaviors are ideally a genetic makeup responsibility. So your genetic makeup is responsible for most of your behaviors, even personality that we studied like in the last class. So intelligence being a psychological attribute will also be coming from something which is your genetic makeup, the way that your parents are, and the way the chromosome 23, 23 align from parents and your both the parent and give rise to a child. Also, there were a lot of studies that I'll tell you. When I talk about a lot of studies, there are two main important studies that were given. One was the adoptive studies and twin studies. We all know there are two kinds of twins. One is a monozygotic twin, the other is a dizygotic. So monozygotics are something which is coming from the same ova, leading to the two twins. And dizygotic is that when the ova and the uterus splits into two and leads to something which is non-identical twins. So these studies came with a rationale that identical twins possesses the same level of intelligence. So I'll tell you the entire idea behind this research. So speaking of this, when we talk about this idea, there were two monozygotic twins. They were, as soon as they were born, after like few number of days, they were separated. So, like, let's take an example. They were staying together for almost 30 to 40 days. After that, they were separated. So, separated as in they were reared in different families now. So, after being born, or 1 or 2 months later, or a few days later, they were separated and sent to different families. Now, after a few years, they were united back, and the testing of intelligence took place. So, intelligence assessment of the intelligence was taken of both the twins, and it was found that approximately 0.90 both of their intelligence level correlated. So, correlation is one goes up, the the other also goes up. So, and zero point 0.9 according to the normal probability curve is you know very close to the perfect correlation of positivity. So, this is again suggesting us that yes, twin studies, at least of monozygotic, suggested that the correlation between the two children were way too high. Now let's take an example of dizygotic. Similar things were done with dizygotic. They are something which are identical, non-identical, like identical twins. You can differentiate between the two. They're dizygotics, and with them the same procedure was used. After they were born, they were separated after a few days or months, and when they were got together after a few years, they correlated to 0.75, again higher than the mean value, which is it is a positive correlation. Now, when we talked about rearing the identical and non-identical twins, and we get to know that genetic endowment is responsible for inheritance, there were people who stated that there is always going to be a difference in the ability of cognition. Cognition was the thinking, reasoning, decision making, your ability to analyze and perceive situation and environment, which is very true. So let's take an example: a person who sees a color black from far, from a far distance, far distance, Maybe another person might see it a navy blue. So again, perception, the way you perceive colors, so the way the colors are being given to you or visible to you. So this is cognitive ability. So when nature was there, nature did provide evidences. This is cognitive ability is going to be different, but IQ, which is the intelligence quotient, is positively correlated. Now let's come to another. These were studies which were supporting the nature, highly supporting the nature, and this is a huge, benchmark stating that yes, it is a genetic makeup. It is all, as a result of genetic makeup. So even siblings tend to have equal IQs. Siblings correlate approximately to 0.60. That's an additional information that I'm providing. So 0.60 is again more than the average. Now let's come to the studies of the nurture. Nurture supported and they gave it a debate, and these people, ideally, nurtures are called empiricist or environmentalist. Environmentalist because nurture is something which is some everything happening around your environment, so they were called the environmentalist and empiricist also. As they advocated and firmly believe that intelligence level is a result of the environment, the environmental factors that will take care of social factors, social economic factors, and at the same level there was a psychologist, John Locke, and I hope you might have heard this, people keep using this term. He stated that children are born like a blank slate. So, tabula rasa was a concept that he gave. And tabula rasa is, it signifies that children are born like blank slate. So, they're like my PPT cover, they're completely blank. So, whatever that you write over them, however that you mold those children, according to the environmental factors, are something how they're going to be. So that's tabula rasa, and they fit into the kind of mold that you provide them. So the way that you want to rear a child, let's take an example. There are parents who are very strict, and they tend to make sure that children learn each and every value, and they function as per the values and their learning. So the child, even at later times, is always going to be, under the scanners of values. Will make sure that I'm associating to principles that I've been taught. That's how environmentally made sure that the kind of mold that you provide to the child is going to be like this. So that's John Locke concept, and he supported environmentalist, which is the nurture, stating it's tabula rasa, which is children are born like a blank slate. So whatever that you write, however that you mold, whatever shape that you want to give to the child, is how the child is going to be. Also, apart that, there's also something, and you also see the picture along that is always going to differentiate between the two. There was something called Flynn effect or the Flynn effect. Flynn effect was given by James Flynn, and it was 1987, not very far. He suggested the importance of environment on the IQ. So culture is a huge part of environment. We need to know. We all are born in families that has some sort of a belief system that revolves around us all the time. So Flynn effect describes a massive IQ gains which has been found in the 3 points in the past decade. So in US, it is said that in the past 2 decades, there's been an increase of approximately 4 to 5, and even such studies are going on in India also to find out that has there any increment in the IQ levels that have been found from the passage of time, which is from from a decade far times that we have had. Also, you need to know this is very true because initially around 1950s and 40s, our average IQ used to be 100 when the concept of IQ came. Now the average IQ is from 109 to 110. See, there's an increment of 9 pointers on an average in the matter of like 50, 60 years of life. So, yes, that is an important thing. Also, there were a lot of studies which were conducted and suggested that malnourishment, any sort of disease, illiteracy, which I said poverty ridden families, they tend to have lower IQs. Why? They do not have resources, they do not have the kind of facility amenities to provide to the child. The child will not be able to value education because they don't know anything about it. So that's the environmental factors and such studies related to that. And on the the image that you have, you can actually think that see the nature and the nurture. Nature refers to genetics, nurture refers to the environmental. That's why the other is nativist, and the nurture is environmental. Examples could be the nature of individual plays a role, big role in people's behavior. The kind of beauty and intelligence that you had, it's all coming from the family. And on the other side, we get to know it's the environmental factors that are shaping you, and the way the nature changes in the environmental changes. So they're working in antagonistic to one another, which is nature and nurture. So this suggests that ideally it could be both also. So an individual who has really, really intelligent parents but does not get the facility, Remember, we were not really sure if the child is going to excel. So has the IQ from the genetic makeup, but does not get the facility, does not get the environment, does not get the opportunity. Tell me how the person is going to survive and show that the genetic makeup does support intelligence. So I feel nature and nurture is an interplay, which is two things working together. Both of them are important for intelligence. Now, let's understand and move to theories of intelligence. Before that, let's come to first two major approaches, which divides the theories into two. So we will see psychometric theories and information processing. The book does not give the same thing, so you can take the picture of this image that you have and move ahead. So let's start with psychometric approaches of intelligence. So it's an umbrella term under which a lot of theories will come in. And what does it suggest? It suggests that when we talk about psychometric, it's psyche divided into meters, which is it's going to be quantity, it's going to quantify intelligence. How does it do? It says that intelligence is an aggregate of abilities. Aggregate is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are going to be number of abilities that make intelligence. And the second point that they suggest is it expresses the individual's performance in cognitive index, single index of cognitive ability. So we have an index like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will have 5 abilities, and that says that you are intelligent. Now, this is saying that intelligence is quantifiable. It says that intelligence is something which is an aggregate, which is a composition of 4, 5, or 7 or 10 something abilities. The other says there's an indices, which is your performance would be referring to probably 2 abilities, 3 abilities, 4 abilities, according to the theories that come in. Now, let's come to how information processing is different over here. How information processing is different. When we're talking about it, remember it actually tells you how you process information. So it's not an aggregate ability, I'd say. It is rather tells us how intellectual reasoning in people happens. So how does intellectual reasoning happens in people? In terms of they tell us how an intelligent behaviors happen. They happen in people. So we tell you the hows and the whys of intelligent behavior, not the what. What are you comprising? We do not tell you that. We tell you the how an intelligent behavior is happening, why an intelligent behavior is happening. So the major focus of this approach is how intelligent person acts and the cognitive functions underlying it. So that finishes the understanding of two. All your theories are bracketed in under psychometry. Today we are going to complete with the theories and information processing. So let's start with the theories, and this is going to be psychometric first. This is Charles Spearman theory, which is called the two-factor theory. The book does not give another factor, but I'll tell you one thing. Before the two-factor theory, there was a theory which was called unifactor theory. What was it called? Unifactor or one factor. So this is like a Spearman's theory. It is also called two-factor. That was called one factor or unifactor, given by Alfred Binet. Given by Alfred Binet. Binet suggested that we have a collection of one abilities, set of one abilities that tells us how intelligent we are and how unintelligent we are. So that suggests if you have that set of ability, you are intelligent, and if you do not have that set of ability, you are not intelligent. So now a huge drawback, it was not accepted. The intelligent theory of Alfred Binet was criticized at a greater level, and that's why the two-factor theory came up, and it was really acceptable. Why? How can we say that only one set of abilities can make you intelligent and the other set of abilities doesn't make you intelligent? That is not something that we can go with. That means we are dividing 100% of population into a 60-40 or a 50-50. So 50 has that set of abilities, is can be called intelligent, and a population of 50 another percent, like we're 3 billion, divided 1.5 would be intelligent and 1.5 is not going to be intelligent because they do not comprise of that set of ability. So it was very black and white and not something which was taken as correct. And after that came the Spearman's theory, which was called the two-factor theory. Two-factor theory was actually generated through a statistical method which is called factor analysis, which reduced the abilities into two, and it came down to two factors, which is called the G. G stands for the general factor, S stands for the specific factor. It's a very simple theory. General factor states that intelligence is composed of factors which are general in nature. So it's a broad spectrum of mental faculties that influences performance in wide variety of environment situations. So this is going to be something which is available with everybody. So any individual that is studying knows how to read and write and communicate their expressions and thoughts. So that is something which is called general factor. So this is present with everybody. So if you see a circle, the circle, is all shaded. Remember, we all have general factors. We're not saying who's talented in that in terms of music, who's talented in music, dance, or who's talented in terms of something which is mathematics. That is going to be a specific factor. Why? Specific factor is something which is a unique factor found in many people, out of many people found in one. So that's a unique factor because it's available only with you. So talented kids can come under specific factor, and hence the general factor is responsible for acquiring knowledge, which is we all have general factors. That's why we all have the ability to learn. We're able to learn. We're able to learn new things, and the specific factors is responsible for very unique, novel situations. So that's how we differentiate. Remember, general is something which is present in all, and in that all, if there is few of us who's talented in music, talented in maths, talented in reading well and comprehending, that's going to be a specific factor. So I'm sure every one of us does have general factor because we have the ability to acquire knowledge. Now, this is something that you will be able to take in consideration. General factor comes in the center, which will take care of all verbal, spatial, numeral. But anything which is extra in terms of numeral, anything which is extra in spatial, verbal, and mechanical is going to be an S factor. So that is a general and an S factor explanation. Let's move to the next theory that we have. This is called the Thurston's theory. And Thurston's theory was very simple. See, as we say that psychometric theories are what? They're very, they talk about aggregate abilities of intelligence. And they're quantifiable. So we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as its indices of cognitive ability. So he suggested that intelligence comprises of 7 primary abilities. So it's 7 primary abilities referred as PMA, primary mental abilities. So that's like an acronym that you remember, PMA, primary mental abilities by Thurston, 7 in number. Let's go through all of them now. So the first is word fluency. Word fluency is the W. Your ability to adapt to words, comprehend words very quickly. And before you just see half the word and you know what it means and how you pronounce it. And the pronunciation is clear. Then we talk about verbal comprehension. Comprehension, understanding the word meanings correctly, your higher accessibility to vocabulary. Then we come to spatial visualization, which is the ability to manipulate patterns and spaces, objects in spaces around. So knowing that what area of your house comprises of what objects around, that's like a spatial ability. Also, people who see an area for once, they're able to remember that area visually in their mind in terms of spaces, that what corner had what. So that's spatial visualization. The fourth one is perceptual speed. That is the ability to perceive details and quickly. That's detailed perception, but also very quickly. Then numerical facility, that talks about numbers, the ability to solve them well, adapt to it well, understand it, learn them, acquire them well. Then is reasoning. Reasoning is the ability to observe facts and making general rule out of them. And the last is associative memory, which is the ability to memorize things and recall quickly. So people who are very good with associative memory, they're able to associate and connect to concepts, tend to retain information in their short-term and long-term memory for a longer time, and they're able to recall it well too. So it's the WVSPNRM, which is the 7 primary ability, the PMA by Thurston. So the picture will help you see the verbal comprehension factor, the verbal fluency, the numeral factors, perceptual speed. Inductive reasoning is something which is associated memories also, and which is associated to reasoning. Then we talk about spatial visualization, we talk about deductive reasoning and memory factors and problem solving factors, which is a composite of the above two. So there are just 7 that we have, and this finishes with Thurston. See, psychometric theories are going to be very easy. Why? Quantifiable, and they quickly tell you the number. Remember the numbers, there are 7 in number, and you go on. It's a Thurston's theory of primary ability. Now, let's move to Sternberg's theory. Now, when we talk about the Sternberg's theory, remember, this theory is coming from information processing. Why is it coming from information processing? And the reason that we understand and I'll tell you in the application of all of them in the beginning. Let me just go to the application of all of them. General and specific intelligence is something which is applicable in society in a greater level. How? We all comprise of general ability. So remember, the average IQ, even people who are below the average IQ, which is 90, We all have the ability to acquire knowledge. Even an intellectually deficient individual, so an individual who has an IQ of 70 has the ability to acquire, but has a slower ability to acquire intelligence. So that is going to be something which is general factor. So remember, general factor is something which is present to all, irrespective of even the IQ levels. So the application general factor is available all around you. Every profession, every dealing that you do, every conversation that you strike with people would be people who comprise of something which is a general ability, right? So, and let's talk about specific factors. I'll give you something which is so readily available. We are seeing so many reality TV shows these days, and it comes about music, dance, and so much of pair dancing that we see all around. Remember, these are unique factors. So, unique factors are not something which is present with everybody. It's going to be only one out of the many. Another, let's take a classroom example because that's more relatable to all of you. So, classroom example. Let's take an example. If you're a BA program, right, which is a BA program, and you're 70 in number in the class. Remember, all 70 of you have general intelligence. Why? You're having the ability to acquire the knowledge of psychology, understand what is psychology, how it is evolved, and you come down to this unit of foundations of psychology. So that's a general factor. General is the ability to acquire everything and understand it, right? Now, exceptional ability is a specific factor. So out of you, like any one of you. Let's take an example in XYZ, 3 to 4 kids are excelling in this subject. Like they get a percentage, which is like if they give their exams and give their assignments, they get a 18 and 19. It's only, gets a 90, and 90s are only 4 in your class out of 70. Remember, they are going to be a specific ability because they're adapting to the noble condition, which is the new understanding of psychology with every passing unit, and are able to abstractly relate to concepts, apply them well, and excel in nature. So that's why they're unique in nature. So this is an application. GNS factor has been very famous. They are still available, in terms of understanding, and we use it most of the time. Coming to the next, which is Thurston's theory. Thurston's theory's application is very nil. It's not much because when we talk about too much of quantification, too much of quantifying items, we are not able to use this much in the society. Why? According to this, a person should have all of it. Like if you want to be intelligent, you need to have word fluency, verbal comprehension, spatial visualization, numeral facility, reasoning and associative memory. There are so many people who speak well and who put out their ideas, and they're very good with verbal comprehension. But remember, their perceptual speed and associative memory is not good. They're not good in remembering things correctly, and they just try to overpower with their verbal comprehension and their word fluency. That does not make them intelligent because every ability needs to be present in them. So this is again very much like a unifactor theory. You need to have all 7 of them. If you do not have all 7 of them, you're not intelligent. So the application levels is a little lesser because even if you talk about people who are good with their IQ, you have a 130, you never know they're just numeral facility high, which is they're mathematically and logically very good. That's why they have an IQ which is approximately 130 and 20, right? So let's move to now the information processing theory. What does information processing theory tells us? Information processing theory, like give you a recap about it. It's a very big theory. We'll go slow here. So information processing theory tells us how do you intelligently think. So your thinking, your intelligent behaviors, how are they happening? And how are you functioning in society? So Sir Sternberg's theory, before that I'll tell you his definition. Robert Sternberg is the individual who gave this theory, and he suggested us when he was talking about this theory that intelligence is an ability to cope, cope, and modify the environment and adapt to it according to the cultural norms and factors. So you are intelligent if you select an environment, you shape that environment, you adapt to it as per. So the adaptation and evolution is happening according to what? It's happening according to cultural factors. Remember, intelligent in every culture is going to be different. So what you find, like if you're studying in Delhi NCR, remember the kind of culture of intelligence which is prevailing in this part of the country is going to be very different in comparison to the state which is highest literacy down south. Remember, their level of intelligence and their concept of intelligent and intelligent behavior is going to be different. So When we talk about, as per Sternberg, intelligence is an ability to select an environment. So you select an environment, you cope with it, you adjust with that environment, you reshape it, and you evolve. And that evolution always has to be according to something which is your cultural factors, situational factors, and all. So that suggests there are high individual differences in what is high intelligence in one country to irrespective high intelligence in the Western country. So Indian country in comparison to Western country has different IQ levels, which are highest, and different averages, which is like probably for us it's 109. For them it can be something which is more than that also. So let's continue. He suggested that intelligence can be understood in three types. So remember, he suggested that the country can have three kinds of intelligences if we see it in terms of application. So the first is called the contextual intelligence. The second is called the creative. Creative is also called as experiential intelligence. And the last that we will do will be something as the analytical intelligence. So let's start with contextual intelligence. Contextual intelligence is also referred to as a practical intelligence. I'll tell you why we call it practical. This gives you an ability, to adapt to the environment and situation demands. So COVID has been a greater example of contextual intelligence. So that's like an application. People who have been able to adjust, people who have been able to evolve, survive in that COVID condition, being able to survive their parents, their children, and their families within the home environment, even in drastic conditions, were something which is contextual. Why? They have the ability to adapt to the environment and also the situational demands. How do they do it? They apply the knowledge and information to the real world. So whatever that they've acquired from the passage of time, they use it and put it in the real world, and then start, adjusting. They select the environment, they adjust, they mold themselves, and they evolve. Here, the adaptation that we are talking about involves both adapting to the environment also, and the ability to modify your environment also to fulfill your needs and goals, which they are trying to say. You're assimilating and accommodating together. So that is, you are letting an environment come into your life, make some changes for you. At the same time, you are also having the ability to change the environment, which is very true. Let's I'll give you another example. When children after class 12, or probably even before that, they plan to go for their education abroad to Western countries that we have. So what do? They first go in and they make changes within themselves. So what are they doing? They are adapting and evolving inside. They are making sure that they adapt to the new culture, the new environmental conditions that they have, and they also make sure they get their own Indian trends outside in the Western offices or probably the Western education system. They build in their own cultural values there, and they celebrate a lot of festivities of Indian culture there. So what are we doing? We're doing both the things. We're assimilating also and we're accommodating also, which is we are making sure that we take in a lot of things and accommodate in our life, and we're also making sure that we make space for it. And also in the other end, we are also making changes in their environment. So this is what these people, it's not mentioned in my PPT, you can always remember. These people, if they're high, very, very high in contextual intelligence, they are street smart people. Street smart people, people who have the ability to, it's written on my PPT. Street smart people, these are people which are very high on making changes and adapting to new situation. They will have lesser adjustment problem, lesser anxiety when they move to a new situation. They prefer newer condition and change, which is inevitable in our life. They don't mind the change that keeps coming. So see, the application of contextual intelligence in today's environment is really highly likely. Why? Each and every day we tend to witness something new. When I say we witness something new, we have the ability to make changes in the environment. We have the ability to see every day as a selection of a place, then adapting and then evolving. So also remember context. Remember the term with the context. Context is what? A situation. It's a situation based intelligence. So if you're able to adapt to the situation, you're street smart people. Now let's move to another one, which is called the creative intelligence here. When we speak about the creative intelligence, remember this is one kind of intelligence which talks about creativity. Also, this is also called an experiential intelligence. So it's an amalgamation of two. Like it is an amalgamation of both the creative and experiential also. Creative, let's take the word as innovation, new ideas, novel condition, and let's take experiential intelligence as experiences, like something in terms of holding experiences of your past culture, your past days, you're learning from the past. So this suggests this is the kind of intelligence which develop new ideas, new ways of problem solving. Also, at times, these intelligences, where new ideas, unique ideas, are there in a problem situation, we are also using our experiences, which are our experiences of past times that you've had in the similar kind of situation to understand the new situation better. So, like an example, you have a conflict with a friend, or you have a conflict with your partners, or you have a conflict with your parents. So, you have experiences regarding the same. Like I'm sure you've had conflicts with your friends even before, and your parents even before that, and your partners also. Like one day you had a fight, and the next week you have it again. So the experiences of that fight will contribute in the novel condition, like novel creation of ideas, new ways of solving that problem today. So knowing, okay, my friend is usually someone who does not want to confront a situation. So something was very, very charged up. Like some anything new comes in, the person will change. Another new thing will come, the person will change. So you know that the person is very attracted to changes. So you know that if any conflict will now come in to the fact that if I stop my friends in for accepting changes, they're going to get angry. And you've already done that. So what did we do? We use the past experiences. And now we are going to use this novelly. We are going to use it in a new way to solve that problem. A lot of children do that even in their academic and performing sphere. How? They know that this is the way that they attempt their papers and it's not being great. That's not the right way of attempting papers. They start in a new way of writing papers. So they probably attempt the bigger questions first, so that they're able to perform well. So it's a new way. Also highlighting points. That's again a very unique way of giving out your answers. This is called a creative intelligence. Again, not all of us will comprise of contextual, which is the situation-based practical intelligence, and not all of us will have the experiential intelligence. A lot of us can be possibly not have the two, both of them, either of them. So neither the contextual intelligence nor the creative intelligence. Now let's come to the third one, and you see the picture here. I'll come to the picture again, and I do the third one, which is called the componential intelligence. Componential intelligence is called as the analytical intelligence. It's like a simple intelligence found in people who are doing well and performing well in their academics, performing well in their business fields, performing well in anything that has a structure and a system. How? These, and because this is componential intelligence talks about components in your mind. So if your components are excelling, you tend to probably excel in academics, and it's also referring to people who are high in IQ. So componential traditionally are those intelligences and those people who comprise of higher IQ levels. So see, this is something would be present with children who are excelling and have an IQ of 110, 120, and above 110, which is below above the normal mean and average to us. Such individuals are very good at analytic thinking, logical thinking. They perform things in steps. They are always performing their problems, their solution giving is always in steps and systematic patterns. So speaking of components, that's why it's called components, which is probably one, two, three, four, and five. You do it systematically, and these children are found to be very good with academic skills, academic performances that they have. Let's go to picture again and check the picture that we have. So see, analytical intelligence is also called the componential. What do they do? Their prior knowledge is always about solving problems, taking in information, judgment, then evaluating and problem solving. Something which is always found in children performing well in class. Analyzing it well, performing it well, using the same information and then analyzing it well. So it's very logical math. It's something which is very logical. It's very systematic, remember. Let's come to creative. Creative intelligence are experiential in nature. You will find them taking care of novel problems, problems that will always give you a unique solutions and are very different situations also. Now, automation is something which comes in creative intelligence, which is apply the learned material to novel situations. So they have the ability to automatically use their new things to new conditions. So it's an automatic procedure that we have. Remember, not systematic, not logical, right? Automatic new things are coming in, you're using it in new situation, you're applying it and then moving on and you finding another novel solution, another new situation. So it's an automation that just sets in the mind. Now let's come to practical and contextual. These people are highly adaptive. They have the ability to select the environment they want to make the change in, probably, or change in itself they want to, and then they adapt to the environment. They make sure that they change the environment while adaptation. They select the new environment, and then the cycle keeps going on. So selecting, adapting, shaping, selecting, adapting, shaping. So street smart people, you will find them here. People who are very good with adjustment, people who are traveling and love traveling to places, bloggers who love traveling are something which is practical and contextual. They're very street smart. They're very outspoken about their ideas. They go on and make new friends like in a blink of an eye. That's contextual intelligence. Also, creators, writers, they can be creative. And people who have very high IQ, intelligent kids of our class, excelling in class is something which is analytical comprehension. Let's come to the second picture, a very brief and simple picture for all of you. Analytical problem solving people, analytically doing something. Creative is imaginative, innovative problem solving. So creation will always have innovative problems. Analytical will always have academic and a very thought logical problems. Practical intelligence, on the other hand, would be street smart. Street smart is something which is common sense, right? Not common in everybody. Now, let's move to the next that we have. This was an information processing theory, and now we have one of the biggest theory and very applicable in societies today. People who already are working in school environment might know this. This is Gardner's theory of intelligence. A big theory, we need to be finishing it today. So Gardner's theory stated that Howard Gardner is the psychologist. He's still alive. You can follow him on Twitter. He's still there doing researches every day, posting things, and you can follow him. His name is Howard Gardner. Howard Gardner suggested a lot of points here. And this is like the theory of today, like now at times. How? According to him, intelligence is the ability to solve problems or fashion products that are of consequence in a particular cultural settings or community. So you're solving a problem, your creation of something is always going to be enveloped by the cultural setting and environmental factors that he suggested. Now, a lot of things which I've not mentioned, but I'll tell you, there are major tenets of these theory. Tenets is some major pointers of these theory. This theory, which suggests that first thing, Gardner suggested that there is no one kind of intelligence. So, all of us will not have one kind of intelligence. There are going to be many, right? Next, we need to know that the multi-intelligence he suggested that I am providing, not all of you will have all those intelligence like 60%, 60%, 60%. No, it can be variating. So if anyone has one kind of intelligence as 100%, the other could be 50, the other could be 20, the other could be like 10, or the other could be negligible. Next, a lot of intelligence he suggested people comprising of 4 and 5 kinds of these intelligence make you function together. So it's always like if you have uh, when we come down to a linguistic intelligence, a musical intelligence, and a spatial intelligence, they all function together in you, no matter what percentages you are having it there. But they function together to make you, solve problems and fashion new products according to the psychologist definition. Now let's start with all the 8 kind of intelligence. So when he suggested that it's also called theory of multiple intelligence. So Gardner's theory is also called, it's a very, very, very renowned theory, multiple intelligence. I'll tell you its application also. Let's go through the intelligences. First is linguistic. People who are very high in language, words, and they're also called word smart people. Good with linguistic ability. They easily articulate and express their ideas in words. They write well. They use the correct and appropriate words at the right time. So the right kind of expression of words in the right kind of situation. They easily play with words. I mean, these people are very good with their speaking abilities. They're very good with providing ideas that fit into that word, that word dialect very appropriately. And they are always filled with those words and ideas in mind. People with very high such intelligence, guess who could it be? There will be obviously writers, there could be poets also, there could be editors, there could be lyricists also, at times people writing music. Also people who are editing, proofreading in the companies, they're also a part of this. They have the knack of finding the correct way of writing. So this is something which is linguistic intelligence. Now coming to something which is musical, and remember, when you see all eight of them, do you feel you comprise of all of them? No. And do you feel that if there is a possibility out of the multiple, you might have just one or two? So this is what he came up with an idea. That multiple intelligence does not suggest that you have to be intelligent like the psychometric approach. You need to have five abilities. If all five are there, you're intelligent. He suggested we are multi-intelligent people. So you can just have two of them excelling in you, and the other two might not be there in a higher capacity, but they might function together to make you fashion new products. So let's come to musical intelligence that we have. High people in musical intelligence are extremely knowledgeable and sensitive to tones and rhythms and music. They can manipulate the musical pattern, create new patterns out of scratch, just a tune flowing in their mind, and they can come out with a proper, rhythm of it. These people would be who? Singers, and probably the background musicians and the background music directors. Also, people who are music composers, and not to forget the drummers, the people who use instruments, violin, piano, and someone who uses drums. And I've noticed people who are very high as good singers have a knack of instruments also. They have a knack of creating new music from smaller tones. So that is something which is very high in musical intelligence. Let's now move to logical mathematical. Logical mathematical are the ability to think critically or abstract on an abstract problem. Such people have scientific aptitude, and at the same time they're very good with abstract problems. So these are who, let's associate it to Sternberg's theory. These are componential intelligent people, analytical people who are very good with numbers, smart with numbers, has a scientific ability. The logic is very high in these people, and these are scientists, people who are Nobel Prize winners, and yes, this is how a logical mathematical will function. Now let's come to spatial intelligence. The people who have the ability to manipulate objects in spaces, when able to visualize mental images, very high in these people. They are huge in number. We have navigators, pilots, sailors, architects, painters, also surgeons that we might not imagine are very good in terms of spatial intelligence. They are holding on to your body parts. They know which part. When they're discussing a huger, operation or something which is integrated part of the body, they usually imagine and tell each other that this is how we are going to be operating the individual. Surgeons are also very good with spatial intelligence. Spatial intelligence, your ability to visualize mental images being very high, and using that mental image to solve a place situation, and probably manipulate that space accordingly. Architects are also a beautiful example, making your houses beautiful because of the the structure that they have in mind about your house. Then this is a picture. We'll come back to it again, and let's move on to the fifth one. Bodily kinesthetic, very easy to associate with. They have the good control and a balanced body control of individuals. They can train well. Their body constructs are very strong composition. And these are people who are serving in military. These are gymnasts, dancers, also sportsmen, essentially, and also people who are working in forces, because they have a very high body balance and body stature, and they train themselves really, really gruesomely and very nicely, and they can bear so much of stress in their body. Then coming to intrapersonal. Remember, intrapersonal is something that psychologists should be very good in, and we should develop that much. The awareness of one's feelings and emotion and needs are something which is intrapersonal. Your motives of knowing yourself, knowing your motives, knowing your thinking, feelings, and something is thinking, feeling, emotions, and the correct expression is something which is intrapersonal. The most complicated part happens when you do not understand yourself. You're not able to understand a feeling. So you're feeling bad, you're feeling sad, you're not able to accept it. Then I'm not feeling. You tell yourself, "Oh, I'm fine." That is something where you do not hold a good intrapersonal intelligence. People who are very good with this, spiritual leaders, even psychologists, philosophers are very good. They have the ability of how wise and when questioning to themselves. Then we come to interpersonal. Interpersonal is the ability to understand people's behavior, being sensitive to people's behavior, the understanding, then making them comfortable around you. So this is again psychologists, teachers, counselors, social workers. They have the ability to associate to people. They have the ability to roam. They have the ability to connect to people really well, associate to their feelings and thoughts, and analyze them well. And that's how interpersonal people are good communicators also. They express and make sure that the other people are very comfortable with them. Also, They could be politicians. We all know politicians are great, great in terms of interpersonal communication. They understand you well, maybe just because of just before the polling and voting, but they do understand their countrymen well. They know what is wrong in the country. They know it very well. They're highly sensitive, and so remember the policies that they should be making should be very apt because they literally know their countrymen well. So let's move to the eighth one that we have, which is called the naturalistic. This was the newest one that came later, but now there are two more that we have, but it was not there. That two is aesthetic intelligence, etc. And this is called naturalistic intelligence. Also, the flora and fauna intelligence, intelligence of being sensitive to the features of nature, being compassionate to the nature world. These could be people who are botanical researchers, botanists, also wildlife researchers, scientists who are working in similar fields, also gardeners on a very smaller level, people who have a love and knack for any sort of organic farming and understanding, not in terms of business, but understanding is very high in this level of intelligence. So remember, each individual has a unique combination of these eight intelligence. So any one of you could be linguistic. Look at the pictures; it's so beautifully telling you. You could be visual, spatial. You could be musical, kinesthetically, and naturalistic, but in different margins, in different parameters, not equivalently present in everybody. So you cannot have all eight in equal numbers and equal percentages. You might have all four or all five, but in different percentages. As I said in the beginning, there is no one intelligent. We have multi. They all multi-function together, integrated function together. Gardner and his colleague also propose a typical paper pencil test for intelligence to be measured. So there is a paper pencil test which measures different aspects of intelligence, such as interpersonal ability, intrapersonal ability that we have. Let's move to the picture which was at the back. So, see, naturalistic intelligence would be people living in understanding, reading the nature really well. Spatial would be people who could work in 2D and 3D both well. Linguistic, word smart people express their thoughts, ideas, and emotions really well. Intrapersonalist people who understand themselves. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling? And what and where? For whom am I feeling? Then interpersonal is something which is sensing people, feelings, feeling them, understanding their motives equivalently like yours. Then logical, mathematical are people who are able to quantify object, world situations. So the physical world scientists, the Nobel Prize winners, mathematicians could also be a part of it. Also, musical intelligence, having a discerning sounds, pitches, and tone. So, people who are able to talk in terms of going their pitch up and going down as per the emotional context are very high in musical intelligence. Bodily kinesthetic is being able to coordinate your eye-hand movement to the body. So, athletics and sportsmen people are very high with this because they not only navigate and move their body, remember they're also really able to take care of their motor movements, a very good eye hand. So drivers could also be a very good bodily kinesthetic, balancing the vehicle and driving well. So this finishes with something which is another theory of something which is the multiple intelligence. I'll give you a quick recap and we finish with the class today. We started with what is intelligence, and I'll give you a little of the next class. We are dividing it into nature and nurture. As I said, nature is the genetic, nurture is the environment that you have. So remember, your intelligence is an interplay of both. You will be having both the hereditary inputs and the environmental inputs too. Second, we move to know that there are two kind of approaches and theories that are being classified and clustered to, which is the psychometric approaches and the information processing approaches. Psychometric itself is an umbrella term that you have, okay? So they will have separate kind of, what do you call this, theories under it. And information processing has separate kind of theories, and we are left with another one that we will continue next time, which I'll give you a brief about right now. So when we talk about psychometric, remember psychometric approaches have lesser application in society. You do not find them available in the environment, in the school environment that you have. Coming to something which is information processing, like the Sternberg's theory. Sternberg's theory, we can find children who are creatively intelligent, ones who are painters, are able to solve everything in terms of creation. And at the same time, there are people who are, creative, street smart people. Put them in any environment and they function well. So they are more applicable in society because they tell you how an intelligent person is thinking, reasoning, and functioning in society. So let's take an example. A street smart person could be who does a multitasking in a work environment very comfortably. Let's take an analytical intelligence would be in the same workplace, would be someone who is a data analyst, very good with statistical tools, take care of the entire thing in terms of numbers of the work areas, and takes care of the growth of the work area also in a matter of 5 years, 10 years. Speaking of creative intelligence would be people who are imagining the entire world as a creation as pictures. So again, now speaking of, as I said, multiple intelligence is highly applicable in education system. As I said, you can follow Howard Gardner. Howard Gardner is still alive. He writes still. And also, speaking of Howard Gardner's theory, it's applicable in today's environment in school. So Howard Gardner's theories are applicable. So if are any counselors, students who wishing to become counselors need to know Howard Gardner's theory can be applied in our in our school environment by people who visually learn, people who auditory learn, and people who kinesthetically learn. So remember, there are a lot of children in our school environment who are visual learners, some that are auditory learners that we have, some at the same time are people who are working in terms of hand movements. So these are children who want to like walk. I'm sure a lot of you read and learn by walking around the environment, like they're walking and reading with their content. So these are kinesthetic learners. Visual learners are people who need to see the PPT while I'm teaching. So you need to see pictures. You need to have pictures to visualize what a musical will look like, what is visual spatial will look like. And at the same time, and auditory learners are something which started with our culture. That's why lectures and school systems came only through lectures and auditory systems, because we in the beginning were only auditory learners. We were only lecture listening children in the beginning. That's why even when education system and culture, everything started in our society, it was audition, not visual. We did not have boards in the beginning. So remember, you can apply it in school today as multi-intelligence. I'll give you an introduction of the next one, which is called the PASS model. You can today all go and check that model that you have. That is the third theory of information processing. Again, very applicable theories these are. PASS model was given as an acronym. PASS is planning, there is attention arousal, simultaneous and successive processing. So see, here we talk about processing because this is something that's going to indulge and involve in them processing intelligent behavior, how a person is going to think and act. So I'll give you an example and we close today's class with that example. So past model stated that arousal and attention is extremely important for intelligent behavior, which is very true. Imagine your teacher comes into class and tells you, I'm taking a test today. You all were very drowsy, sleepy, and as soon as she says a test, your body is aroused. I need to study. I need to just revise everything like in 5 minutes of time that she gives me. So remember, for intelligent behavior, you need to be aroused. So people who are sleepy, always sleeping during examinations, they do not perform well. Why? Your brain is sleeping. You're not aroused. After that, you need to plan. You need to process simultaneously or you need to process successively. So once your body is aroused, you will attend. That attend will push you to something which is processing, which is once you started attending to things, you'll be able to process it well. So processing can again, as individual differences, go separately to people. And once you process everything, you plan things. So planning is the last stage that people do at that time. Past model again tells you how an intelligent person function. Remember, when multiple theory can be applied to the culture, can be applied to the school environment, can be applied to school environment of every living, past model can be applied to an individual's intelligent behavior. So that completes with today's class. We will continue. Thank you.